Hello, welcome to My Yellow Raincoat. This is my YouTube channel, and I can't believe it that we are already in season 5. So if you've been following along, season 1, 2, 3, and 4, I appreciate you as an audience, and if you haven't, please check those out. Thanks. My name is Dee Dee Rand, and I was an 8th grade English teacher. This channel is about presenting the lessons that I taught in my class. And whoa, before you run away, this is not about the essays. I'm not going to teach you how to write an essay or subject-verb agreement. This is about the life lessons that I taught in class and how relevant they were to my students' lives and how they let me know through their letters that these lessons were important to teach. You don't have to be a teacher. You can be a counselor, you can be a coach, you can be a soccer mom, you can be anyone that works with kids, you can be a kid. These lessons will interest you, and you will have a lot of information on how to deal with these different subjects that come up with kids. So the first thing I would like to do is read this little quote, and it says, "A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence stops." So, what happens in Rand's class should not stay in Rand's class. All of these lessons I want spread out to the universe. Today's vlog has to do with academic dishonesty. And as an English teacher, this came up quite often because students had to analyze literature, write essays, write poems, write articles. They had a lot of things to write, and with the internet, it was so easy to get access to all of this information. So the first week of school, I always explained, what is academic dishonesty? And I used words like academic dishonesty, plagiarism, cheating, how to avoid all those pitfalls, what are the consequences, how to quote other authors properly. This is what I taught the first week, so the kids really had a thorough understanding of what was meant by academic honesty. I'm going to give you 2 examples today of how students were academically dishonest and how I dealt with it, how I handled the parents and the student. And you'll see how situations are different. It doesn't always turn out like you want it to turn out. Example number 1 concerned a young man. The assignment was to write an original poem. And then you had to attach a piece of paper to that original poem. And you put down the title, your name first, the title, what the poem means to you, why you wrote this poem, and different examples of, like, say, figurative language, similes, metaphors, alliteration, onomatopoeia. Put down list those examples that you put into your poem. So this young man turned in a poem with this piece of paper attached, the name of his poem, the title, da-da-da, da-da-da. And when I was reading it, I had other experiences with this student's writing. And for some reason, this poem seemed like something that he did not write. So I went to Google and I typed in the title, and 1 minute later, I was walking back to my classroom with the exact poem written by another author. I put them side by side, and they were identical. So I called the student in, and I asked him about this, and I said, well, could you explain this to me? And he was really kind of shrugging his shoulders, like he didn't want to commit. He didn't want to admit that this is what he had done. But I went on and I explained academic dishonesty again. And I said, this poem is not original, and you claimed it as original, and that is dishonest. And so I'm going to have to give you a 0 on this assignment. I'm going to call your mom, and let's talk about why this is so important. At your young age, this is just a tiny little blip in your education. But as you move along and you get into high school and you get into college, this could be huge. And I want you to avoid all of these pitfalls. He was just like, he wasn't really that interested in anything I was saying or the fact that he was going to get a 0 on his assignment. But I explained to him, I asked him, I said, well, what kind of topics, if you were to write an original poem, would you write about? I don't know. And I said, well, I went to your basketball game last week, You made a lot of good points. In the stands, everybody was cheering for you. I would think that you could write about that because that's something you love. And it would be a really interesting topic, and I would love to hear about it, how you felt during that. And I know the kids would love to hear about it. He smiled. So he left. And before he left, I said, I hope that you will learn from this. It is a mistake. It's over, it's done with, and we're just going to go forward now in a positive light. I called his mom, and I explained to her what had happened. 10 minutes later, the principal was standing at my desk. The mom said that he turned this poem in by mistake, and that she wanted him to do it over for full credit. And if I didn't say yes, she was going to go to the school board. Well, I was rolling my eyes a lot during that. And I said to the principal, he won't learn anything. He will learn that he can get away with academic dishonesty. He will not learn that integrity is a core value. And he will learn that he can always be bailed out. Principal agreed with me, and he said he would stand behind me, no matter what decision I made about this. And I just said to him, you know what? You're the principal. You take over from here. You just tell me what you want me to do, because you know how I feel about this. This is so bad on so many counts, on so many levels, because I had 174 other students who took the time to write their poem, who care about honesty, and who can see their growth. They can actually see how they're improving. They might not have thought they could write a poem, but they can, and they're so excited about it. Let me read you a couple of letters. Miss Rand, you have been the best language arts teacher I have ever known. You have inspired me to write more and more every day. You were able to help me express my emotions in poems. You expanded my vocabulary. I'm in your debt so much. You may give more homework than high school, but it's helping me to broaden my job opportunities so much. That's why I give this kind of work, because they have that positive results. He didn't know he could write poetry. And here's another one. This is from a parent. Good morning. I just wanted to drop you a note and say thank you for helping our son appreciate the value of poetry and how it is a means to express his feelings. Wendy and I just finished reading his poetry book, and we were both amazed. The poem about his aunt is really the first time he has let anyone know how her death affected him. I realize it is probably not the coolest thing to let your peers know you like poetry, but I think he really enjoyed writing. Again, thanks for keeping that burn to learn going inside. That's my job as a teacher, is to help students say, I didn't know I could write. I didn't know I had any emotions in me to write. And then they find out they can, and they love it. I have one more. This was from a student who was now, I had her in 8th grade. She was now, well, 2 years later, she was sophomore, could be junior, I'm not sure exactly. Dear Miss Rand, this is Michelle. I had you in 8th grade 2 years ago. I just wanted to let you know that ever since I had you as a teacher, I have been writing poetry. I just thought I would let you know that you have made me a better writer. Writing poetry has changed my life because I can express myself on paper. Let all my feelings out. I just wanted to say thank you again. Love always. Michelle. Now, that is a really important letter for me because I gave them the opportunity, and that's my job as a teacher. The way the others, I'm sure you're wondering what happened with that other student. The principal had decided that since it was his first time of academic dishonesty, that he should get to do it over for full credit. I felt that was a disservice to all my other students, but I went along with it because he's the principal. I felt that the student did not learn from this experience. Okay, well, I have another student, and I gave vocabulary tests every Friday. The students had to learn what the words were, learn what they meant, and then on Friday they would take a test spelling them correctly. So I would grade the papers and put the grades in the computer, and then I would hand them back. And one of my students came up with the test after I handed it back, and she said, "You marked these two wrong, and they're right." She had an A in my class. She had a 90 on the test, so she still had an A in the class. So it wasn't going to change her grade by changing these. Her grade was still an A. I said, "I'll see you at lunch, because I don't have time to talk about it now in class, but we'll talk about it at lunch." She went and sat down, and about 10 minutes later, she came up. "I don't feel good. Can I go to the nurse? Oh my God, I don't feel good." "Oh, sure, go ahead, but I'll see you at lunch." I talked to her mom before she got to my room, and the mom was very upset with me. She told me that I should let her daughter take the 90. Just forget about this, what she was doing. And I said, "But this is not right, because your daughter wanted to get credit for her incorrect spelling. This is something that she has to learn. This is not the proper way to do things. You have to take responsibility." And I said, "Please, let's work together. Let's be a team and let's work together. This is going to be a small lesson in the scope of life, but it's going to be huge in the scope of life that she learned this lesson. The lesson, huge." A little girl came in. She was crying already by the time she got to me. And I showed her the paper and I said, "Now I want you to tell me what really happened here." And she said, "I got these wrong, and I didn't like that. And I wanted to have 100. Tears are streaming down her face. And I said, "You know, you are a very sweet girl. You are such a good student. I know how hard you work. I know how important your studies are to you, and I know how well you want to do, and you do so well. This was a mistake, and you need to learn from this mistake. You need to learn that this is never the right thing to do. Take responsibility for it. If you don't like it, what can you do to change it? Well, maybe next week for the test, you'll put in an extra 5 minutes. Maybe before you turn the paper in, the test in, and hand it in, maybe you'll check over every word one more time. But this is something that is just totally wrong. Because you were even calling me out. I can handle that. It's for you. I don't want you to ever have to deal with this again. Because you're a very smart girl and you're going to make it right on your own. You don't need to cheat." And I said, "And you know something? I still love you. This is over and done with. It's a little blip in your academics this year. It's over and done with now. We're not going to deal with this anymore. We don't have to deal with this anymore. You are a smart girl and you're going to make the right choices from now on." And that was how it was settled. The mother went along with me, and that's how it was settled. But now you know what? If you've seen season 1, 2, 3, and 4, you know that that's never where the lesson ends. There's always something more. 6 years later, I got this letter. "Dear Miss Rand, I am proud to congratulate you for being selected for inclusion in Who's Who among America's teachers. I believe you will find this honor exceptionally gratifying, since it comes from a successful former student who recommended you because you made a difference in his or her life. There is no greater reward for teachers than to be valued by former students. Only high school and college students who have been cited for academic excellence themselves in Who's Who among American high school students and the National Dean's List are invited to nominate one teacher from their entire academic experience. As indisputable testimony to the value of outstanding teachers, Who's Who will honor a select 5% of our nation's teachers. She learned. She's just as smart as I always thought she was. She knew the right thing to do after that, and look at how successful she is. And look at how she didn't forget about it. Think about all the teachers she had after me. She remembered that lesson, and that is what is so important if you work with kids. Thank you so much for watching Season 5. I have one more quote here that I would like to read. It's a very relevant quote by one of my very favorite authors, Carl Jung. One looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touched our human feelings. The curriculum is so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for the growing plant and for the soul of the child. Thanks for tuning in.